All right, back at it. Week 3 already. Alongside Top Dog, I'm Braden Surprenant. Thanks again for tuning in for another edition of the High School Football Podcast. Season 6, Episode 3. Cruising through these 6 years,
I can't
Chris.
believe it's been that long, man.
of doing High School Football Podcasts. How was your Labor Day weekend?
It was pretty good, man. Besides
Watching
the
football?
Heat, no, I didn't get to watch any football.
Really?
I got some highlights of Buckner playing against Ohio State. Props to that kid, man. What do you think?
I thought not just Buckner, but I thought a lot of San Diego kids showed out at the college level over the weekend, which is
Skinner
great
had
to see.
Good game, even though they lost to Oregon State.
Hey, man, as long as he's putting up good
game.
numbers, right, and representing well. So, I agree with you. And then we got to see a lot of San Diego kids in the San Diego State-Arizona game, too.
Absolutely.
And some kids, still redshirting and hadn't get a lot of reps, but it's good to see Keenan Christian back in San Diego. That was cool to see.
Absolutely. I mean, we all loved him in a USC uniform, but there's a little something special about coming home and playing for your hometown team.
Yeah, I'm playing that brand new stadium, which I got to go check out. And it was pretty nice.
Him. I mean, my heart went out for Braxton.
Right.
Braxton's
home, back.
I mean, the first time I ever met Braxton, he was practicing on the SDSU practice fields up there.
Yeah.
And he was like an 8th grader. So to see him in a San Diego State uniform and leading that offense, it was something pretty special.
Aside from the result, I would imagine for those kids that were with that the San Diego kids that like the Michael Shawcrofts that have been with that program for the last couple of years that had to bus up to LA for 2 years in a row for home games to finally get that stadium and play in that stadium was probably a special moment for them.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys, like Noah Tumlin. He's been there.
He had a great pick.
Yep, had a
great interception.
Just a lot of San Diego talent, being able to play at home in front of their family, friends, and their former teammates here in San Diego. It's got to be a special feeling to open up that stadium in a new era of San Diego State football.
And the Open Division Championship will be there, which is outstanding. It'd be even better if we can get all of the championships there. I know that's a work in progress. I know there's different money issues that San Diego State seems to be asking for a little bit more than.
It's always about money.
San Diego State needs to stop asking for so much money and let the high school kids play there and get people in the stadium. That's my own 2 cents on it. I already got a lot of crap today for defending San Diego State on a lot of things, and I just got to point out to people again. I'm going to call it as I see it, and I thought San Diego State did a great job building that stadium.
Absolutely.
So first game in there for high school will be the Open Division Championship, and then hopefully next year we'll get all five or 6, I should say, championship games in there. It'd be great to see. A lot of heat this weekend. A lot of teams having to play in the sun with the Honor Bowl. I mean, we saw that with 3 of our teams that played in the Honor Bowl had to play during the daytime. Obviously tough to do when you're used to playing a 7 o'clock kick, and now you got to go play at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Madison had to play at noon, in the hot sun. It's a little bit different. It goes back to your Pop Warner days a little bit.
Yeah. And, not to mention the fact that you're playing on turf.
Right.
That turf is going to be, if you're on grass like it was at San Diego State on Saturday, it was, 102 on the grass fields. So you can only imagine when you're playing on turf, it's going to be upwards of 110 plus.
Right, and that's the hottest. That was the hottest game on record for San Diego State in their history, home or away, in 100 years of football.
That's pretty crazy.
Which is pretty crazy because they played a lot of football in 100 years.
Right.
But let's talk about some of the games. I thought the biggest, one to start the weekend, or should I say the biggest game, I wouldn't say shocker, but just message sent, was San Marcos destroying Steel Canyon. And not to say Steel Canyon is, the super upper echelon team in the county, but they're a program that's usually been near the top and has done fairly well. But San Marcos to bounce back after Mira Mesa at home, to go out to East County and get a huge win on Thursday night. I mean, it shows that, they're still building, but the future at San Marcos is very bright.
Absolutely agree. I mean, that quarterback up there is doing a phenomenal job. He's got a strange name, so I'm going to try to pronounce it. It's Crete Makahili. I think that's his name. And they've got one of the best wide receivers in San Diego, and Jace Nix. We call him Baby Kyle Phillips. But that combination is very dangerous for a lot of secondaries in San Diego. They're going to put up a lot of points. If their defense can keep playing this way, who knows? They might make the top 10 here pretty soon.
Let's talk about just real quick San Marcos on how do you think they're going to finish in the Avocado League as that starts getting started up this week? And
I think the most important game up there that season is going to be the Discovery Bowl. Right. It seems like we keep coming down to that every year. Is it going to be Mission Hills or is it going to be San Marcos? That game is going to play a big bearing on it. And they better not overlook teams like La Costa Canyon. Every once in a while, La Costa Canyon sneaks their nose in there and takes a win away from San Marcos and keeps them out of the playoffs. But it's a 2-dog race, if you ask my opinion, between San Marcos and Mission Hills. And there could be more on the line when the Discovery Bowl comes up late in the year.
let's get to Friday's game. The game of the week that we had picked was Ramona and Poway. And Poway, I think, surprised some people in getting the win over Ramona. Obviously, Poway's a D1 school. Ramona's a D2 school. Poway wins 27-19. And, you look at the numbers and you look how everything plans out. And I put it out this week about, what the projected CIF rating is going to be for everybody based on CalPreps. We talked about that to end our show last week. Poway has a control of their own destiny for an open division playoff spot after a couple teams in front of them lost, and that's a pretty big win for Poway that didn't look like they're going to get tested from here on out.
Absolutely, and I'll be the first one to say I took Ramona over Poway in that game, but the difference maker was Connor Rath. I did not realize that kid was that big of a pounder at running back. I've talked to a couple college coaches that are really interested in his size, and they're on the verge of offering him, but that kid is a phenomenal player, and to me, he was definitely a difference maker in that game.
Yeah, and they got a clean path. I mean, they take care of business against Torrey Pines this weekend, which is still going to be another tough game. After that, they should be able to roll, but better watch out for Del Norte, Chris, because Lee Cole and the Del Norte boys are they're looking at a 9-1 season, potentially 10-0 if they can get through Poway.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the state rankings, and they're on the verge of breaking into the top 10 of San Diego
That's
County.
Right.
I cannot remember the last time a Del Norte team was actually on the verge of breaking into the top 10 in anything.
It's never happened.
In anything athletic.
Maybe a couple of sports here and there, every once in a while they could go to volleyball and women's volleyball or field hockey or something like that. But for football, I mean, 34-17 victory over San Pasquale. San Pasquale's not the, powerhouse that it used to be. That's still a good win for Del Norte and a reason why CalPreps has them at 12 right now in the county.
Yeah. So, I am surprised. I think they're proving a lot of doubters wrong. They're a team on the up and coming, and they could, play spoiler to some of those teams out there.
Scripps Ranch got their first win of the year. They beat Patrick Henry 21-14 to go down some of the games here. Point Loma destroyed Valhalla 52-0. And that was pretty much it for in-town games. Out of town, the
one game that I think we skipped over, I just want to bring up, was Mira Mesa.
Mira Mesa.
That was a big game. Again, Mira Mesa's on the cusp of breaking in the top 10. I think they're sitting at number 11 right now. But they're playing some really good football right now.
Granite Hills beat Oceanside 28-0. La Jolla beat El Cap 32-7.
Can we not pass by that one easily here?
Yeah, you're the one that picked Oceanside last week. I picked Granite Hills.
You picked Granite, but look, I just want to ask, what's going on in Titletown, USA right now? Oceanside.
I don't know. I mean, I just don't think. If you look at the team, it's not the same kids that they used to get. And I think
why is that?
I think some of them are going to El Camino, but I think a lot of them started going to Mission Hills, and they're going to different places in the North County. I mean,
is it culture?
Once Carroll left, it was a max exodus. And the other thing too, it's like I know he dealt with a lot of other stuff, but the cupboard was starting to get dry pretty quickly up there,
right?
Where players were going to different spots. So I don't know at what point in time in Oceanside where it was we're not going to Oceanside anymore. Maybe it was the emergence of Mission Hills, a newer school, being able to send your kids there, or some of the other North County schools. But it's amazing to me that they haven't been able to overcome that, because it's been a while since John Carroll left, and they had that 1 year where they went, I think, to the Division I championship. I can't remember if they won or not.
He dropped the ball in the end zone, by the way.
But
and then they played Lincoln.
Yeah.
Remember?
But that was about it, and then it's just slowly started getting lower and lower, and to the point where even a couple, I think it was last year, this offseason, they're going to be back. They got their guys back, and it just hasn't been the case. They're just not getting the same kids they used to get.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my only take is the only thing I can see that's obvious is Carroll leaving. Now with his son taking over the San Marcos program,
right?
You wonder how many of those kids are going to follow. Those parents are going to say, "Hey, Carroll was a part of that, the Oceanside title run.
Right.
Now he's over there, and his son's over there.
And all the different families that have younger kids now whose other relatives played for them. Are they going to start going there instead of maybe Mission Hills? Because Mission Hills has been getting a lot of those kids too. So that's another interesting part of discussion. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of that more. But let's talk about some of these other games. Helix and Madison did well against Arizona schools. Everybody else did not.
Are you surprised?
Not really. I mean, Helix played a Mountain View team that they should have destroyed. So I'm not surprised that they won 24-21. Madison played the worst Arizona team out of the group. So I thought for sure they'd roll, because I think Madison is a really good football team. I'm not surprised by the outcome of the Cathedral game against Chandler. Chandler's very good. Cathedral is just not on the front. They're just not. And I think
what's the problems there?
Their offensive line is not as big as it used to be, and they're playing.
They're not pushing people
top
around
teams,
anymore?
and they're just not very big. I mean, let's take a look at their center, for example.
Okay.
Their starting center, who has the biggest heart on the team, is 5'5", 200 pounds. And last week, he's going against a guy committed to Oregon that is 6'5", 300 pounds.
So let me ask you a question.
It's just not going to work.
Let me ask you a question. You know, I've heard over the years that the excuse, we don't have the guys this year, right? I've heard that.
Right.
From certain programs that say, hey, you know, we don't have the guys. Come on, they're a nationally ranked team. They're this, that, the other. But Doyle doesn't do that.
No.
He just takes his lumps and keeps on moving.
Right.
Doesn't go on the media, doesn't go on the social media and say, hey, you know, we just don't have the guys. You know, they're a top-ranked team. We just don't have the guys. So, you know, there's something to be said about that he'll schedule a 2-year knowing that second year may be a rebuilding year, and he's just going to go through it.
When it comes to the schedule, you know, those are like years in the making for Coach Doyle. I just know how he does it. So he's already got down the road all these teams that he wants to play and go out and play and challenge himself.
Yeah, but does it help you or does it hurt you?
I think at least for Cathedral, it's helped them in the long run because by the time they get to playoffs, and the thing is with them, they have enough depth where they can survive that and then get through the year and get people healthy and they'd be ready to go.
Modern day, they don't have the depth.
That's where it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because you want to play good teams out of town. You want to get yourself tougher, but at the same time, you can't overload it because then you'll start losing kids for the season, and then it doesn't do you any good because now you're down to your skeleton squad going into the postseason. So I think it's going to benefit Modern Day when they get through the league. I mean, they're going to dominate their league. Right. I mean, they're just going to destroy teams, and then we'll see how they do in the playoffs, which is most likely going to be D1. But, you know, I think there's something to be said about being battle tested. I think that's very important. I think you need to challenge yourself and know what it's like to be in a dogfight.
I don't think that Cathedral's the only one that schedules tough games.
I don't think so either. There's a lot of teams that schedule well.
Helix does it. I think that, you know,
they got Servite and Mission Viejo this year.
I think St. Augustine has traditionally done that, except for this year. They're playing a lot of freshmen
and they inherited the schedule. It's not like Gladden got to pick the schedule.
So I think there are certain programs that are top echelon. The coaches realize that, hey, if I'm going to be in this at the end, I need to get my guys tough in the beginning.
Right.
And then I think they throw a cupcake in there just for confidence, just to get your guys going in the league.
But I think that's important. I think that kind of switches to our next point. And I just, you know, I'm watching. We talked about this last week with the size of schools and like how everything seems to be different. And it just seems like when you watch the teams from out of town come into town, I mean, even like teams like Ayala and some of these teams that are like in the middle to bottom of the southern section, they come in and every single one of their teams is gigantic where we don't really have those teams anymore.
Can I say what's on my mind right now?
Yeah.
Outside of Madison and Helix, San Diego got work last week.
They did.
San Diego straight up worked.
They got smoked, including the college.
Yeah. Even a team
and the Padres. The Padres lost to Arizona too.
The team that didn't win anything. Like Arizona just came to California and waxed that ass.
In literally every sport.
Yeah.
They did it in Major League Baseball on Monday. They did it in college football on Saturday. Yep. And they did it for every game except for 2 in high school football.
Yeah. So, yeah, I get that it's going to make us better in the long run, but I don't enjoy getting my ass handed to me at home. I don't like paying rent on my own field.
Where's all the big kids?
I don't know.
Where are all the big kids? What you watch the PPR?
Okay,
Chris, I know you watch the PPR. You watch these highlights. Where are all these big kids?
Say this. You ready?
Yeah.
We're gonna coin a term. You ready? I think you said it earlier. I'm gonna say it. You want to say it? You want to take credit for it?
Well, I said it before. Go ahead. Say what I said.
It's COVID kids.
The COVID kids.
It's the COVID kids.
It's a COVID group. But
these are the kids that sat for 2 years during COVID, who didn't get to do the normal, football conditioning, didn't get to work out with their teammates,
didn't get to play sports.
No,
these are
so many kids didn't get to go to school.
These are like 7th, 8th, and 9th graders.
Yeah. So these are COVID kids. Do you expect them to be that big? I mean, dude, we just came out of a global pandemic. Do you expect the same level of football prior to the pandemic?
Well, my caveat to that is, how come the teams out of town are ready to go?
Because we have more options here in San Diego to do other
things. And then I think a little bit of it too is a lot of those schools outside were focused on football more and just trying to go football, like you were saying, with more options. And I just think that's just kind of a San Diego thing. It almost is like, and then you look at like the population. I mean, San Diego's got 3 million people in the county.
Listen, I went on our podcast last week and I talked about how good San Diego football was and we
Now you're popping off about it. I was looking at it. I was like, Chris,
I was popping off a little bit about bragging about our boys, and then they didn't show up this weekend.
I think collectively, as a group, myself included, and you, all the coaches that listen to this podcast, everybody that's involved with San Diego football, I think we need to look in the mirror and be like, all right,
who are we?
Seriously, I think we do.
But I'm gonna say this, and again, I want to go back to this point.
What do we need to do to
COVID,
get better?
It was a different story. I think San Diego was knocking on the door of being one of the top 3 football regions in the state of California prior to COVID. I think we made a great deal of progress, and I think we got set back because of COVID. Our football just kind of went backwards, where other states were able. Listen, the rules were different in Arizona. They were different in Nevada. They were different.
Different in Orange County.
So all I'm saying is, like, we didn't get the same fair, advantage of kids working out 24/7, being with their teammates. It was pretty strict during COVID. I think that set back the entire football community.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I'm not going to blame everything on COVID. Do you think we have too many schools?
Yeah.
I think to an extent we do.
I mean, listen, I think, what you say, San Marcos has 30 what?
They got like 3,500 kids.
3,500.
The last time I checked, they were the biggest school in San Diego with 3,500
What's that one
kids.
in Texas got like 7,000?
Allen's got 7,000.
That's insane.
South Lake Carroll is a school. They produce Quinn Ears, who's now at Texas, but he was at Ohio State. They're a loaded program over there.
Here's my point.
But they have 2 high schools. So they have a junior. They have a high school and a senior high school. Each has about 4,000 kids at it. It's still all one school, but they got a school of only freshmen and sophomores and a school of only juniors and seniors. And in Texas, they make sure the zoning and the school building is like that, so they have these perennial powerhouse type programs.
I'll say this. I think that smaller school size, take a step back from it just as a parent, okay? I'm not a big fan of bigger school size because I feel
from
like
an academic standpoint, why would you?
It doesn't help you.
Why would you want to be in favor of a 7,000
academically
kid school for the academics of your child? No, absolutely. I agree.
So I think academically, the way it's designed right now is good, but I think
it's great for academics.
Well, let me ask you, what about this option? Instead of having 2 football programs with 2 different schools, why not combine those 2 schools?
I've been saying that for years. I agree. Could you imagine, like, if you merged
imagine Oceanside and El Camino together?
Let's think about some of the city schools, like a Hoover and a Crawford and a San Diego High. I mean, kind of the same.
Yeah, they have bigger rosters.
If
they have
you
more
put
depth.
them all together, it'd be a lot better.
I agree.
There's some schools that wouldn't need to merge.
What would you call them?
The Crawford, Hoover. I don't know. You went to Crawford. Would you be okay playing with a kid from Hoover and kid from San Diego High?
Well, listen, considering right now I'm the broadcaster for the Hoover Cardinals, yes, I'd be okay with it. But that's the only team in San Diego that will hire me, by the way.
You combine Scripps Ranch and Mira Mesa.
That'll never happen.
I know, but
those programs hate each other.
But I'm just saying, but a lot of these programs that are near each other would have to, you'd have to think about combining. But think about how much better some of these areas would be.
Yeah, I agree.
But let's go back to the joint team conversation.
All right. We're getting way off topic, by the way.
But I think this goes back to what I wanted to talk about today with the joint team thing. I mean, if you start putting some of these schools together, think about how good they would be. Let's take Carlsbad an example. Carlsbad has 2 high schools in their district. One of them doesn't have football. So they are already a combined school. Sage Creek doesn't have football.
That's still a school.
It's a brand new school. It's great. They got every sport but football, and those kids all go to Carlsbad.
Wait a minute. I thought J.R. Tover coached football at Sage Creek at one point.
Sage Creek does not have a football team.
Huh. I thought he coached football there.
Same thing as Canyon Crest Academy. So Torrey Pines, with the school down the street, doesn't have football. Canyon Crest Academy, I've talked to their baseball coach before. He was upset they didn't have football because he couldn't get some of the great baseball players because they also wanted to play football, so they go to Torrey.
Yeah.
So Torrey Pines is another one of those schools that is kind of a combined school. Think about if you did that for everybody. Think about the South Bay. There are so many schools in the South Bay all right next to each other. You make like 2 or 3 teams in the South Bay, maybe 4. They're back to what they were back in the day. Sweetwater used to be dominant. Back in the 80s. Chula Vista
that was a
used to be
show.
outstanding.
I gotta give the Usos props on that. The Usos made Sweetwater.
Chula Vista used to be an outstanding football program.
Yeah, that was.
They produced guys like Donnie Edwards.
That was a long time ago.
I'm just saying, like, the South Bay had a ton of talent. Now they have all these schools.
We also had the Martin Bayless camp. Remember that?
What?
The Martin Bayless camps.
Right. I mean, so
running up
I
Silver
think,
Wing Park Hill.
I think the combined would be a good thing.
Okay.
Because I think you get that up in Orange County.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. There's too much.
I don't
money
think
involved.
so either. I think there's too much politics involved, like you mentioned, but I just think
Too many
that'd be
egos.
better. So aside from that, how do we make ourselves competitive with the Southern section?
Let's face the facts. There's nobody
I'm not.
in San Diego.
I'm not.
Listen,
Well, all right. So that's
I've
the
been
other
on the
question.
record and say it.
That's
There's
the
nobody in
thing.
San Diego that can compete with the Southern section.
Even the
Period.
bottom of the Southern
Hands down.
section. There's a lot of
Dude,
bad teams in the
what?
bottom of
Who?
the Southern section.
Who?
The bottom of the Southern section. There's enough
What do you
small
say, Jay
schools
Sarah?
up there. That's a Trinity League school. We're not talking about the Trinity League. It's like
What, Santa Lisa, Ajo, or what is that?
I think there's some teams that could beat Temecula
Dude,
Valley.
There's some school. I don't know.
Santiago. You don't think anybody can beat Santiago?
It's possible.
There's some teams up there that are not. They're not all great. But so here's the question, Chris: is there a way for San Diego to be able to play outside of county and not get their ass kicked, like you said,
Put teams
or
together.
or Chris, should we just go accept who we are and act like this is who we are,
I think we need to wait 2 more years
and then reevaluate?
and then reevaluate.
What percentage? Let's say what percentage of student athletes on each football team watches football, do you think?
20%.
I was thinking more like 40%. I mean, some of these teams, these rosters aren't very big. I would imagine at least 10 kids
I
watch.
think the only people that actually watch it are the stars.
I think so,
if you're the
too.
starter, the starting quarterback, the starting running back, once you get past the first string, and listen, I don't even think it's the entire first string on offense or first string on defense. I think there's guys in the trenches that don't watch it.
I had a conversation with one of our players during the game. On last Thursday, there was a situation in the game that came about of whether or not we should, I think it was like go for 2 or something
Did he know the
of
Matrix?
the nature. But he just like, we got to go for 2 right now.
And you're like, why?
It was actually the game against Centennial, and it was one of our quarterbacks, and he said, "Coach, we got to go for 2 right here because we missed our first PAT." So they go up 14. They're up 14-6, and he's like, "Oh, if we score, we got to go for 2, right?" And I said, "No, you don't want to chase points." I was like, "Because then if you miss, now you're down. Now you're down 2 points, and then if you do it again, now you're down 3 points. Like you get it at the very end is when you want to do that." And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." It's like,
Was he a starter?
15. No, I mean we kind of play a couple quarterbacks, but like still, most of my kids don't know any of the rules either. I mean, it's just like
How do you play football and not know the rules?
like I have to tell my kick returner. By the way, I don't think any official knows this rule, but I tell my kick returners all the time the first touch rule on punt return. So if the punt team punts it and it hits one of their guys,
The ball's down.
no, you can return it with no risk.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if I punt, let's
Is that a
say
high school rule?
I think it's an anything rule. I think it's a football rule.
Did you say England rule?
No, it's an anything rule.
I thought you said it was an England rule.
If
I'm like,
you
what?
punt, so let's say, so I'm wearing a Tennessee Volunteer shirt. Let's say Tennessee punts to Ohio State,
Let's go. House call.
and the ball hits a Tennessee player as it rolls down the field.
Yep.
The Ohio State guy can pick it up and return it with no risk whatsoever.
So if he fumbles,
So
it's
if
not a
he
fumble?
returns it at 99 yards to the 1 yard line, fumbles and Tennessee recovers, Ohio State gets the ball if they choose
where
where Tennessee first touched the ball.
Yeah, I knew that. I can see that. That makes sense.
So it's funny.
That
So
makes
you
sense.
see kids you see it on TV all the time, and people.
Okay,
always,
let me ask you this: in high school, can you return a missed field goal?
you can't if it doesn't go to the end zone.
You're sure?
If it goes in the end zone, it's a touchback.
You're sure?
Same rule as the kickoffs.
Because I was told that you can't forward advance the ball.
It depends if it gets blocked or not. But if they kick a point after it, if they kick a field goal and it's short
You can return it.
and it doesn't go in the end zone, you can return it like it's a punt.
There's a shortage of officials. Maybe we need to get them on a podcast.
Yeah, we
Talk
should.
to them. That'd be kind of cool.
I want to talk to the guy that did our game last Thursday.
Don't do that.
Oh my God,
Don't do that. I don't want death threats on any guys.
it was
okay?
bad. It was bad. I felt
Moving right along.
I kind of felt bad for the guy, but anyway.
I want to ask you a question.
But I didn't finish my
all
punt
right.
return
Come
story.
on, let's go
So
punt
that's
return.
why, like when you watch on TV and you see the guy run up and try to jump on the ball, and everybody goes, "What is that guy doing? He's an idiot." No, the kid's probably smart. He knows the rule. The other rule that pisses me off, this drives me nuts. Any kick on kickoff that's about to go out of bounds, set up your 1 foot out of bounds and catch the ball, and it's out of bounds. There's a penalty. Last week, we had a kid run over and try to get his 2 feet in when he catched the kick, and he stopped and he got the 2 feet in. You're down right there. Or if you just put your right foot out of bounds and you still catch it and the ball's inbounds, it counts as if you kicked it out of bounds.
Yeah.
Football IQ, like stuff our kids
That's
should
what I was
know.
going to ask you. So this leads me to my next question, okay?
All right.
10 years ago, football IQ versus the football IQ of today's players. Where we at? Higher or lower?
It's lower now than it was before.
What do you blame that on?
I blame that on a lot of things. I blame it on not watching football. I blame it on having a lot of different things to do. Like I think you mentioned, I think it's a San Diego thing a little bit more than other parts of the country where football is life and everything. And I think a lot of it has to do with technology. I think, kids are just doing stuff on their phones all the time. It's just not football. I mean, you talk about it all the time. We talk about it all the time.
Huddle on their phones.
That doesn't mean anything. It's
not
entertaining.
Their iPads.
These kids have very short attention spans. They want to be entertained. It's like it's the whole conversation with Major League Baseball and the NFL trying to appeal to a younger audience. They've been trying to do that for years. They're never going to be able to do it because and there's different things. I can spend an entire podcast on that. And I'm one of their target audiences, but at the same time, it's like that's part of the problem. So it's
Are you not entertained?
You have to be able to watch. You have to be like fully about it to understand the game, in my opinion.
Did you just say you got to be about it?
You have to be about it.
Okay, I got some questions for you. Let's talk about players specifically before we get in our top 10. Can we do that?
Yes.
All right, so my top performers, quarterback for last week from San Marcos, Crete Makahili. Mentioned him earlier. What are your thoughts on that kid? Have you seen him play yet?
A San Marcos kid?
Yeah.
You say he was a quarterback?
Yep.
Yeah. He's pretty good. I mean, they're scoring a lot of points.
Yeah.
So, I like the way he's been playing. I think they have the talent up at San Marcos to do a lot of damage, and you have to have a good quarterback. And they're 2-1 right now, and they're scoring like almost 50 points a game.
All right. Johnson and Jackson's the most dangerous wide receiver quarterback combo in the county. What do you say?
We doing buy or sell on that?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to find a better 1-2 punch. I mean, Madison throws the ball a decent amount. Plus, Jackson's gigantic. I think it is a pretty good combo. I mean, they were a good combo last year, and despite what their record was near the end of the season, they had a really good year last year. But it's kind of tough. It's going to be tough to stop both those guys. For sure.
I'm buying 100%. I mean, Jackson being 6'4", Johnson putting the ball up there. He's got really nice touch on that.
I'm trying to think of anybody else in the county. So
Jackson and Johnson, I'll buy it. The most dangerous combo.
I'll buy it.
All right, Roderick Robinson, running back for Lincoln, or the running back Major Givens from Steel Cameron. Which one are you building a franchise around?
What am I building? Roderick Robinson. No disrespect to Major Givens. I love Major Givens. I think he's a great running back, but I think Roderick Robinson, there's a reason why UCLA really wants Roderick Robinson, and he puts up a lot of big numbers, and I think he's a tremendous football player. I think Major Givens is too. So I think the tough one is, let me counter that. If Major Givens is on Lincoln, is he talked about as much as Roderick Robinson? Is he the same type of athlete? I don't think so. I think Roderick Robinson is bigger, faster, stronger than Major Givens, but I think Major Givens is a great high school football running back. How many offers does Major have? Any offers?
Yeah, he has some.
From who?
I don't know.
Are they D1 schools?
Yeah. I think he's got 4 or 5
I mean,
D1s.
I think whoever picks him up is going to get a steal because I think that kid's great. But if I had to pick between the two, which is an unfair thing to do for a high school kid, I'd probably take Roderick Robinson.
I agree that Major Givens doesn't get the love.
I don't think he gets the love
that Roderick Robinson does, but Roderick Robinson can carry the load. I mean, last week in that game, they ran that poor boy ragged, and he just kept thumping people. He looked like a grown man against boys. There's just something special about Roderick Robinson that, Major Givens is a top tier running back.
Absolutely, both of them have been doing it since they were sophomores.
Is a freak. That dude is just a freak,
and they've both been doing it since they're at the varsity level since they're sophomores.
Yeah. 2 other backs I want you to look at here. Mira Mace's Mekhi Thompson and Morris is Demarion Wright. Which one do you take and why?
I haven't seen Wright play yet.
Okay.
But in person. But I have seen the Mira Mesa kid play in person a couple of times. He's legit. That guy's pretty good. That guy, we went out and watched Helix play Mira Mesa, and that was the guy we were talking about the most with coaches. Coaches from different teams. Like, that kid's pretty good. That kid's a pretty solid running back, and I think he's definitely under the radar in town, and a big reason why that team's 2-1. Guy's a good football player. I mean, there's a lot of those kids throughout the county, even though they might not necessarily be on top echelon teams. I think Mira Mesa's on the cusp of being a top team in San Diego, but I really like the way that kid plays. I think he's a stud.
I agree. I mean, I like Mekhi Thompson a lot, but I've had a chance to see Demarion Wright in person for Morris. He's got a very big frame. Kid's powerful. Kid can only run the ball. He can catch out the backfield. He can play DB. He can play safety. He's just an overall phenomenal athlete. I think you could put that kid anywhere on the football field except for the trenches, and the kid's going to have success. So I'm going to have to go with Demarion Wright. I think that kid's a definite D1 guy. I don't know what position he's going to play in college, but he's got the body and he's got the physicality to play at the next level. So I think that he's a little bit bigger than Mekhi Thompson. I think Mekhi Thompson's more of a real traditional running back.
He's like a scat back. He can.
And I think that Demarion Wright's more just of a football athlete. You know, he reminds me of the safety from Cathedral.
Which one?
The new one, the young kid.
Oh, Anthony?
No, the other one.
Ty?
No.
Marcus?
Well, he was safety last year. You know, kid. Faramo.
Oh, Faramo.
Faramo.
The sophomore.
Yeah. Buy or sell. Jason Nix is the best wide receiver in the county. He's a machine. Smoother out, great hands, awesome ball awareness, and the kid is the mini Kyle Phillips. Buy or sell.
I'm going to sell that just because I haven't seen enough of everybody else yet. But he's definitely one of the best. He's done a really good job. Again, more San Marcos kids doing an excellent job.
Okay. Then the last one we kind of talked about is a little buy or sell. El Camino's taking over the Oceanside community from Oceanside.
If we're just picking between El Camino and Oceanside?
Yep.
A love for Tri-City Christian?
No.
I'm buying El Camino taking over. I mean, I was honestly surprised they got blown out by Pinnacle because they got a really big lineman. They got huge linemen, and they should be able to handle teams like that. But they're definitely better than Oceanside is, that's for sure. And I think a lot of the talent is going to El Camino now.
So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll go into our top 10.
Top 10 in game picks. Call it a day.
There you go.
I think we've talked about a lot of topics today.
Yep.
A lot more than we usually do. I'd love to hear the feedback from different coaches in the comments on YouTube and the comments on the Coaches Corner, on Twitter, whatever you want to
give us a voicemail.
Target.
Voicemail on the
yeah, that's a good one. Who are you calling? What's the number?
I'm not giving my number out publicly.
Well, how are they going to give us a voicemail?
Because most coaches already have it. If you don't have it, hit me on Twitter. Send me your number.
Call Chris. I'm not giving out my number. Call Chris. I don't want to hear any complaints.
1-800-TOP-DOG.
But yeah, comments, concerns, everything else. Any other topics of discussion you want us to discuss? I think we've touched on a lot of things today, which is great. So let's talk about the top 10 real quick, what we voted for this week, and then we'll talk about some of the big games going into next week. Let's start with yours. You get to start us off.
Well, before I start my list today, can I give a special shout-out?
Yes, but let's give the shout-out, and then I'll give you the UT top 10, then we can give ours.
Okay. Before we get started today, I want to give a special shout-out to @DagoFootball on Twitter. I recently saw his top 10, and I appreciate him agreeing with me on the number one team in San Diego.
Only 2 other people agree with you. In the Union Tribune.
That's fine.
Let's get to the top 10 in the Union Tribune. Madison gets number 1 with 16 votes. Not really upset about that. Carlsbad, second with 6 first-place votes. Helix, third with 2 first-place votes. Cathedral, 4 with 6 first-place votes. Lincoln, 5. Poway, 6. Mission Hill, 7. Mater Dei Catholic, 8. Ramona, 9. And Mira Mesa, 10. A lot of teams were getting votes this week. Torrey, Del Norte, El Camino, RBV, Granite, San Marcos, Central, Kearney, and University City all got votes this week in the top 10. Your top 10.
Number 1, going to Helix Highlanders. 2, Lincoln Hornets. 3, Madison Warhawks. 4, Carlsbad Lancers. 5, Cathedral Catholic Dons. 6, Poway Titans. 7, Mission Hills Grizzlies. 8, Mater Dei Catholic Crusaders. Number 9, Torrey Pines Falcons. And number 10, El Camino Wildcats.
Cathedral loses 63-7. You move them up 2 spots.
It's about strength of schedule, bud.
Got the strength of schedule number on there.
Yep.
I think it's been tough sledding for San Diego teams, and I think until we start seeing some of these San Diego teams win a lot more games, it's going to be tough to do this top 10. I thought this is one of my hardest top 10s I have done in San Diego. But based on everything that we've talked about and what I've seen so far, I'm rolling with Cathedral number 1 still. I was one of the 6 people that voted them number 1.
How do you vote a team number 1 when they lose 63-7?
Because I still think they're better than everybody in the county. Flat out, hands down.
You're not a homer?
No, I'm not. I'm pretty honest, to be honest with you. You like that? I'm honest, to be honest with you.
Are they going to beat Helix?
I think they beat Helix. I really do. I think they beat Helix, and I think until they've won 15.
Listen, I think it's a bad matchup for Helix because they're a passing game now, and I think you're right that you do have one of the best secondaries in San Diego.
I think the secondary plays well, but the thing is can Cathedral score points on offense?
But I don't think your offensive line is going to be able to hold up that D line.
I just don't think Helix's line is as big as it used to be.
I think they're faster, more athletic than your offensive line.
They're always faster, more athletic than our offensive line.
I think that Helix beats Cathedral this year.
I don't think so. But here's the other thing, too. Until somebody beats Cathedral in town, I'm going to keep voting them number one at this point in time. They've won 15 straight games against teams in San Diego.
You okay?
Who's the last team to beat Cathedral?
Was that Madison?
Carlsbad.
That's right.
Carlsbad in the playoff.
Playoffs.
And then the team before that was Lincoln, which was actually the week before where they lost 2 in a row to finish up the 2018 season.
I remember that now.
But until then, I'm going to have them number one. Now, if Helix beats Cathedral on Friday, they'll probably drop to like 9 on my list.
Jeez, that far?
I mean, they'd be 1-3 at that point. They would have already lost to a San Diego team. Their only win is against a team that hasn't won a game yet.
Finish the rest of your top 10.
But that would be my thing.
Right.
Cathedral 1, I got Carlsbad 2, I got Madison 3, I got Helix 4, I got Lincoln 5, I got Mission Hill 6, I got Poway 7.
5?
I do got Lincoln at 5. I've had them at 5 the entire time.
I think you missed on that one.
I don't think so.
I know.
And then Mission Hill 6, Poway 7, Ramona 8, Torrey 9, Mater Dei 10.
Where's Poway?
7.
Okay.
I don't think Poway can beat Mission Hills. I don't think.
Wait, where you got Mater Dei again?
10. I think they're better than everybody else behind them.
You think they're better than? Are they better than Torrey Pines El Camino?
No, that's why I'm behind Torrey Pines. I think they beat El Camino though if they played head to head.
What about Torrey?
No, that's why I have them at 10 and
Jeez.
Torrey at 9.
Okay.
I think, I mean that's basically how my order
folks,
is.
There you have it.
That's how my order is in my top 10.
We couldn't agree to disagree more.
I think Carlsbad would beat Madison. I think Madison could beat Helix. I think Helix would beat Lincoln. I think Lincoln could beat Mission Hills. I think Mission Hills would beat Poway, Ramona, Torrey, and Mater Dei.
You know, the game of the year for me that's going to be probably the most impacting is Madison Cathedral. That's going to determine a lot.
I'm not going to say that yet.
I am. I think that's going to determine a lot.
I'm only going to say
Whoever
that.
wins that game, I think, gets the last, either the 3 seed or 4 seed in the Open. That game's going to have huge implications.
I'm not going to say that yet. I will say that if Cathedral and Madison are still, if they both win out to that point, then I'll say it.
All right.
Did you look at my?
No.
You didn't look at that?
No.
You should probably look at it.
No, I think everybody else in San Diego on Twitter looked at it. So
They did, as they should, because it points out, and if you're upset with it, don't
I'm
be
not
upset with me.
I'm not upset with it.
I'm talking to the people out there. If you're upset with that, don't be upset with me. Be
Sorry,
upset with the
you
people
can't
that came up with
you
the
can't-
ranking
You
system.
can't take the heat. You don't like when people talk trash to you back on social
It
media?
happens all the time, dude.
Yeah.
It's called Padres Radio.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
See,
So here's the deal.
I only have hate from one community.
I
that's the
get
football
hate
community.
from like the Padres fans sometimes.
Really?
So like the high school stuff is
kinda
just kind of
feel
like,
they're
dude, it's high
but-
school.
But hold
Nobody
on,
cares.
hold on. I kind of feel like Padres fans are kind of timid
Yeah,
compared to football fans.
no, but they're Twitter warriors.
But they don't know anything about the game.
Doesn't matter. On social media, they do. They act like it. See, at least with the high school football community. Now you could differ because I haven't had as much heat, and I don't really care if I get heat or not because
Oh, I care. I read every comment.
I really don't because at the end of the day,
Sometimes I go home and cry.
we're talking about high school kids. All right, I'm not trying to dog high school kids.
No, I'm talking about all the
But here, how many
the
times do
Uncle
you get
Davids of the world.
those guys call you though? Don't
They
they?
make me cry.
How many times those guys call you?
Oh, I don't know.
They call you
lot.
though, right? At least they call. At least they talk to you
only
in person.
sometimes. You know the ones that get me though, are like if I say something about a coach. If I say something like, "Well, you could at least call the coach first," and then my first response is, "I did."
I think too many people get in their feels about some of these.
It's
comments,
okay.
too.
Listen, I read all the comments. I
Hey.
cry.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
I talk to my therapist.
Nobody's a bigger high school football fan of San Diego teams than me. But I'm gonna say how it is. I just don't think we're very good right now, which stinks. We already talked about that. I think we all need to get better. Everybody needs to get better,
Okay.
and we'll see how it goes this weekend. A lot of big games this
All
weekend.
right, let's
that
talk about
impacted.
picks.
Let's talk about some of the games this weekend. Scripps Ranch Mount Carmel is interesting to me.
Mount Carmel.
I'd take Mount Carmel too. Scripps Ranch get another win this season. We both didn't think they were going to win a game this year, and they won.
I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
Who did they beat?
Wait a minute. You skipped a Mission Bay Sweetwater game.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's on Thursday.
Oh, I didn't see any Thursday games. Mission Bay Sweetwater.
It's Mission Bay.
Took
3-0.
Mission Bay last time. You said
Yeah,
your boys are going to be ready, and they were.
Thank you.
They destroyed San Diego.
Thank you.
I'd
Paul
take
Brooks
Mission Bay
Santana.
too. Fallbrook. Hey, you know who's going to go 9-1?
Who?
Fallbrook.
Yeah.
They're going to run the table right now. They might lose one game. They might lose to Ramona, and that's it. How about that? What about that for a program like Fallbrook that like 18 coaches in 3 years? And a lot of them were just, life decisions with COVID and everything else for them to be on a roll right now.
By the way, where's Little Rock? The team that Hoover's playing?
Little Rock?
Yeah. It's a team called Little Rock. I've never heard of that team.
The Little
Rock. Is Hoover going to get their first?
The Little Rock Lobos.
Is Hoover going to get their first win Friday night of the season?
I'm going to ask you. You're the one. Oh, they're from.
I have to say yes. You can't ask me that.
If I say no, they're from Little Rock, California.
If I say no, and I have to be the announcer there on Friday night, there's no way I'm doing that. Yes, they get their first.
Get your popcorn ready if you said that. Can you live tape that? That'd be awesome.
Can I what?
Live stream that.
No, I don't. No, they're gonna win.
I think Hoover's gonna win too.
All right.
Who else we got here?
I like.
What about Central at Otay?
Oh, Central.
Central took a loss last week. That's the Palm Desert.
I'm taking Central.
Is Otay Ranch? They've had a pretty brutal schedule.
Yeah, you know what? But they're 0-3. I think the feels are starting to get to some people.
RBV at El Cap. RBV's 3-0.
I'm taking RBV.
I'll take RBV too.
Chris, not. Somebody told me the other day that El Capitan needed to be in my top 10, and then they went out and got thumped. They got thumped last week
by La Jolla.
Yeah, I'm not putting.
Lost to Bishops.
El Cap had an opportunity to get in the top 10, and they blew it. Sorry, guys.
This game's good.
Which one?
Although I think Madison wins by a couple touchdowns. Ramona at Madison. I'll take Madison by a couple touchdowns.
I'm taking 35-14. Madison.
Granite Hills at Eastlake. Granite.
Granite. I agree.
Mission Hills at LCC.
Mission
Hills too. I agree. 100%. St. Augustine at Steel Canyon. I got Steel too. I don't think Saints can beat Steel. Del Norte at La Jolla.
Del Norte.
Nighthawks. I don't think the Nighthawks lose another game except for Poway.
Wow.
9-1.
Wow.
Calling it right now. Now, if they lose 3 games, I'll take responsibility for jinxing Del Norte. But I think Del Norte
I'll call Lee Cole and be like, he did it.
I think they're going to win the rest of their games. Carlsbad El Camino. Give me Seabad.
I'll take Seabad. I'm just saying, don't bet against Julian saying.
Oceanside at San Marcos.
San Marcos.
Does Oceanside win a game this year? They're in Avocado League play now. Is there anybody in the Avocado League they beat?
LCC.
You think they beat LCC?
Yeah.
I hope Sean Sovaco calls you.
I don't think he's going to call me.
Really?
No.
I'm taking. I don't. Oceanside's not winning a game.
That's one of the tough games, man. I think that Oceanside pulls that off.
Oceanside at San Marcos?
No. San Marcos is definitely going to beat him.
Cathedral at Helix. You already picked that game.
Helix.
I got Cathedral.
Wait, for all those people who said I was Don's family, I'm a realist. I'm taking Helix.
I want to talk about this podcast for a second and all the times you called me a homer and then the most hated guy on campus and a homer back to back. You know what? That means I'm doing something right.
No, I'm just trying to focus all the negative attention toward you this week instead of taking it all myself.
We got a couple good Saturday games.
What do we got?
Modern Day at Lincoln.
Ooh, who you like in that game?
Lincoln.
I
thought at the beginning of the year Modern Day could get him, but they're so beat
thin,
down
dude.
right now.
They're getting too thin right now.
They lost Estrada. They don't have Mosley.
Listen, they
Trey's
struggle.
out.
This is the reality. They struggle with the run against Cathedral.
Right.
Who? Yeah. Let's be honest. That running back's not.
It's not even the running back. The O-line's not. This is not up to par.
But you put Roderick Robinson out there and you run him like you did, you can't stop that boy.
Roderick Robinson could go out there without an offensive line.
You're not hearing
still
me.
Do damage.
I'm saying Modern Day struggled against Cathedral Catholic with that running back. Now they got to go face Roderick Robinson. Roderick Robinson is a much better running back than what Cathedral has.
I think most teams against Roderick Robinson, even if it was just Roderick Robinson against 11 guys, would still have problems tackling him.
That's a brilliant statement, my friend. Did you think of that all by yourself?
That's right.
All right, moving along. Falcons or Titans? Who you got?
I'm taking Poway.
I'll take Poway in that, too.
Perfect season's on the line right there. That's the last game they have a challenge with. No, Del Norte, maybe.
I'll take Poway.
I'll take Poway, too. 1-3 start for Torrey.
All right, we got to shut down. That's our show.
Well, let me, how much time we got left?
We're at 16.
Oh, all right. So I'll do it for our show. Chris Smith, Top Dog. I'm Braden Surprenant. Thanks again for watching, listening, Appreciate it.
Supporting.
I'll tweet out that
Tweeting.
that fact about Helix in a second. How about that?
Sounds good. Thanks again for having me. Todd Durkin from one TD to another TD. Thanks for letting us use your
Big thanks to
studio.
Todd Durkin as always. Appreciate you. It was a good discussion today. A lot of good discussions. I want to hear from the fans though, so
Yeah.
tweet at us before we get ready for next week.
Just try to keep it positive. I don't want to see my therapist again.
I'm out. See ya.